welcome back to the Championship Proud podcast. I'm Chris Durkin and I'm joined by my co-host Adam Harvey again. How was your week, Adam?
Not so bad, thank you, mate. Obviously, Norwich with a positive result on Saturday is always a massive boost. And then Brentford slip up yesterday as well, which obviously we're going to talk about a bit further on in the podcast. Obviously also a bonus as well. So in a good mood today, mate.
Yeah, you're lucky to have a game. I was annoyed our game was cancelled. We're going to talk about that later. Should there be games cancelled in the Championship for frozen pitches? But a lot more to come up. We had a good week. We've got WD Sports contacting us. So we're now live on YouTube as well, guys. So if you want to head on and look on that. But if you're looking on YouTube, you'll see we're joined by a guest today.
We're joined by QPR fan Charlie from Talking Rangers. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Nice to get a little call up. Thank you for having me on.
No problems at all. Thank you for coming on. So we've got a few questions for you to start off. So obviously you support QPR. How long have you been supporting QPR?
First baby girl I ever wore had a big QPR crest on it. My dad was brought up in Shepherd's Bush. So yeah, ever since then, it's been blue my hoops.
So your best memory supporting QPR in your lifetime?
It's been a couple, obviously promotion in the 2010 to 11 season. Just Adel Tarab that year was just phenomenal. Remember being outside the stadium that day when it was announced no points deduction. Unbelievable scenes. That's a Loftus Road, but as well, Bobby Zamora's moment, 2014-15. It's hard to top that. So yeah, there's been a couple of good ones, a lot of bad ones, but it makes the good ones even better.
So in terms of then, obviously your favourite game of all time?
I'd have to say the playoff final. You can't get much better than that. Seeing the Derby fans crying at the other end, it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
So you talk about Bobby Zamora. Who's your favourite player of all time?
A lot of people say Clint Hill. So a lot of people say Charlie Austin, sort of the younger generation, but for me, it's Clint Hill. That man was phenomenal, blue and white hoops. The passion he wore on his sleeve every game. Nicest man as well. Yeah, just a top professional, and just loved QPR.
Obviously, you're on good form at the moment. A couple of good wins in recent games. In terms of your form, what do you rate your January transfer window, let's say, impacting your season going forwards?
I think massively, but the key word you said there, good form at the moment. We've been pretty abysmal this season. So it's nice to string a couple of wins together. 4 from 5 is unheard of for QPR. But like you say, down to the likes of Charlie Austin, restoring confidence on and off the pitch. What a man he is for QPR. And Sam Field and Bees as well. Hasn't featured yet, the both of them, but hopefully they'll come in good as well. And Stephanie Hansen has done well when he's come in a couple of times, struggled in the last one. But yeah, QPR done some good business in the January window. Wasn't expecting to be making signings of those caliber. So yeah, no, it's been good.
So with the transfer window and those good forms, so 4 wins out of 5 in 2021, it does project your chances 13 points off playoffs with 2 games in hand. You never know at this time of the season. You never know who could get to the playoffs. So we're going to do the game that we did last week. It's called Case for Playoffs. What's going to happen is Charlie's going to be given 30 seconds to describe why he believes, argue the best case for why QPR will get to the playoffs. There is a twist. He won't be able to say Queen's Park Rangers, Mark Warburton, or Charlie Austin. Charlie, are you ready? Throwing you straight into the deep zone. 30 seconds. Are you ready to start?
I've not only got to convince you guys, I've got to convince myself as well.
He's got to convince himself. We were talking to him before and he was like, I don't think we will. But you never know. So he's got to convince himself. Give the best case. Show us your amazing talents from Talking Rangers. 30 seconds to argue why QPR could get to the playoffs. Are you ready to start?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Charlie, 30 seconds starts now.
Well, with 6 points off 11 with 2 games in hand, we've won 4 out of the last 5. You project that form, that's 8 wins from 10. You know, we're right up there. We're right up there. We've got, I can't say Austin, so we've got QPR's number 45 now. He can score goals. We're a bit more of a threat going forward. Super Sunny Dieng in net as well. Clean sheets for days. We're climbing that table. We're getting the 6th spot, and the R's are going up. # announced promotion. Okay, we'll still go. Well, we're gonna do it. I don't even know.
And that's time. That is time. That was good stuff. That was good stuff, Charlie.
I'm very convinced on that.
Yeah,
really
you guys sold because I am.
It's going to be a QPR Norwich Swansea promotion like 2011.
Well, yeah,
exactly. 2011. Yeah.
QPR do need to pick it up because we got up through the playoffs. I don't see QPR finishing in the top 2, but you never know. You never know.
With
Really
that convincing argument, I think anything's possible, right?
Exactly. It was a really strong start. Did fade off towards the end. Needed a few seconds. Adam, mate, going to hand over to you, the judge. Give him a score out of 10.
Well, obviously, last week we had Reading fan Sam on. He got, was it 8.1 you graded him last week?
I think, in hindsight, I think all that was a bit generous, to be honest. I think,
yeah.
I think lower it down to 7.1 and 6.9 for yourself. So it gives scope for improvement.
I think we've got to give that a solid 8 out of 10. I'm somewhat convinced, but also convinced that QPR are going to get the playoffs.
It's hard to convince you, and I'm not convinced myself. Let's be honest.
I think for Charlie's effort, I think that's 8 out of 10 because the fact that QPR they're sitting 13 points off playoffs, but I felt convinced during that.
Come on, 2 games in hand as well. That's guaranteed 6 points.
Exactly, guaranteed 6 points, 2 games in hand.
7 points off. You got to look at it like that, you know.
You never know. QPR could be there. The reason why they could be there is because this weekend we saw Bournemouth draw only 0-0 against Forest. So that puts them on 46 points in sixth position. Also, Reading, who are sitting in 5th on 48 points now, lost to Millwall 2-1. What was your thoughts on that game, guys?
In terms of Bournemouth, obviously, I did kind of, tune in for a bit of this game because obviously they had got the win before. So obviously, they obviously needed to back that up with a good result. Against Nottingham Forest, who obviously have been resurgent in the last few weeks. 3 clean sheets in 4 now after that game. Obviously, they play you guys in the week, Swansea, obviously. So, yeah, I think Bournemouth, that's probably definitely, I don't say definitely, but I don't think their chances of getting top 2 now are very high. Especially when you've got teams like Watford that are starting to hit form a bit more again. Obviously, Norwich have picked up a win after a bit of a slump. And although Brentford, obviously, not such a good result. So they've always, got a slim chance, but I think it's going to be playoffs for them at best.
Yeah, the Reading game surprised me. 7 games unbeaten now for Reading, bar the last 2, and they've gone on a 2 losing streak. So a little bad patch of form. They'll be looking to put that one right. Obviously took the lead, but the last 15 minutes they threw it away. And like I said, Bournemouth Forest game. Forest have really surprised me this season. It's been so underwhelming. That you look at the likes they've got attacking wise: Freeman, Knockout, Lau Taylor, Graben, and Lolly. It amazes me kind of how they've been this season. But you got to think they've got to start to come right. And it's going to be interesting with Forest. But it amazes me the players they've got and how well they've been doing of late.
Yeah, Chris Hughton has started to pick them up recently, but it's still not. When he came in, they weren't getting results then. They have started to get them at the moment. But it'll be interesting because, as you say, Swansea got Forest in the week. Beat them 5-1 in the Cup recently. So hoping for something similar at the Liberty. But meanwhile, Millwall, great result for them against Reading.
Yeah.
Puts them 8 points off 6th and definitely in contention. You've got the likes of Reading and Bournemouth could be dragged down out of that playoffs. Do you see either one of those teams slipping out of the playoffs?
Not in terms of Millwall, because I think Millwall, if you look at their record this season, they've got 2 wins, 9 draws, and 3 defeats at home, which it's the drawing that's the problem for them. That's why they stand no chance of the playoffs, because they simply can't win games. Even if they don't lose, they don't win. And that's never going to bode well for any sort of thing other than mid-table, let's face it. I think they've got 23 points away, but only 15 at home, which, people always say about the Den. Okay, it's a hard place to win. But this season, it's not a hard place to lose either. So, I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and then the likes of Bournemouth and Reading, do you think they're guaranteed at the playoffs at the moment? They've got a bit of a gap, 5 points, but could they be dropping out of the playoffs?
See, Cardiff, they've had a resurgence with Mick McCarthy. That was the most uninspiring appointment. I did laugh when he came to the club. But that's 3 wins on the bounce now for Cardiff. That's catapulted them up. Borough in horrendous form, losing 4 from 5. So, they've got to seriously buck their ideas up if they want to be creeping into that top 6. Yeah, I think, to be honest, that top 6 is fairly set. I know Cardiff are on a good run, but I'm not sure they've got enough to make it with the likes that are already in the playoffs. Middlesbrough won't do enough. They'll probably turn their form around at some point. And as well, the couple lingering below that, you got Blackburn, Stoke, and sort of Preston. I don't think they've got enough. So, to be honest, I see that top 6 kind of remaining the same. I know the Championship, it'll probably come the end of the season, it'll be a brand new 6, how much it surprises me every year. But for now, I'd probably say that 6 is fairly set, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you did mention Cardiff there. So a great win for Cardiff, winning 3-1 against Coventry on the weekend. We said about Mick McCarthy. What an appointment. He's turned it around there, hasn't he?
Big time, yeah. Like, I think Harry Wilson's now got 3 assists in 4 games. Kiefer Moore is obviously back, and I think he's actually been one of the most underrated players in the Championship this season. I think he scored some good goals, and I honestly think Cardiff, if they hadn't have had him in the first half of the season, then they actually could be more towards the bottom half of the table in terms of fighting relegation as opposed to near the top.
I'm pretty salty about Keith Moore, I'm not going to lie. QPR agreed a fee in the summer. I was excited about him coming, and then he's opted to Cardiff. And we've got Lyndon Dykes instead, who's been half decent, but nothing to the heights of 13 goals this season. So it's a salty one seeing him score every week.
Yeah, Keith Moore joining from Wigan in the summer. Could have went to QPR, but chose to go to Cardiff. I guess he's got the Welsh connection there. He's looking for a place in the Euros this summer. That's why I'm pleased for him scoring. Not so pleased that Cardiff are winning, but fair play to them. Fair play to them indeed.
In terms of Coventry, though, like, I honestly think that could be a bit of a sticky end to the season for them. The next 3 games are Norwich, Brentford, and Swansea. You look at that and you think, on paper, that's probably 3 defeats. Obviously, football isn't played on paper, but they could be potentially in the relegation zone by the time we get to 16 games left or whatever it is. How do you rate their chances of staying up after that result as well?
Well, I mean, they're only currently 3 points off the bottom 3. Sheffield Wednesday, who are the team third from bottom, they've got a game in hand. It's not looking pretty for them. Mark Robbins come out and said that was the poorest performance of the season for them. They're in a bad run. They've lost 2 in the last 4 and drawn the other 2. They're not scoring enough goals, and it's just not looking pretty for them, is it? I do worry for Coventry.
Yeah, and you look at those teams around them. So you've got Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, and Derby all starting to pick out results, whilst Coventry are not. And then Adam, you mentioned their dismal fixtures coming up that are not looking good for them. But as we mentioned, Derby picking up the results. They won 2-1 against Middlesbrough. That puts them level on points with Coventry, but they've got a game in hand of them. Whilst Middlesbrough are now on the same points as Cardiff, so both 6 points off Bournemouth, with only 1 point in the last 5 games for Middlesbrough. Meanwhile, Blackburn lost 2-1 against Preston on Friday night's game, which means they're both level on 39 points.
In terms of those games, though, I think you look at that now and you think to yourself, have Middlesbrough got enough in the tank? Because they made some good signings in January. I thought, Balak, all right, his match fitness might not be there. Cabano, I always rated at Fulham. So I thought they might have half a chance, but I don't know. Their form's been awful the last, 5 games. They actually got a point against us, and I thought they were actually quite good. But turns out that might have been a bit of a blip from Norwich's perspective because Middlesbrough haven't been good. And as you say, Blackburn, I think people always rave about Blackburn because they score a lot of goals. But on the other hand, they leak as many goals, and that's why, they're not going to realistically put a charge for the playoffs together, I don't think, this season.
Yeah, back to defeats for them as well now.
Yeah, exactly.
One of those coming against QPR. Had to get that in there.
We'll see about that. Going back to Middlesbrough, though, Neil Warnock, it's not really looking like his display. Usually quite solid at the back defensively, but on the weekend, the 2 sloppy goals conceded against Derby. And you think, what's happened to him? You usually hear these stories that they get massive fines if they let in a goal that they shouldn't be letting in. And I wonder, as Derby players, they might be paying back quite a lot of their wages at the moment. Middlesbrough players will be paying back quite a lot of their wages at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, they conceded, 4 against Brentford the week before. And if you looked at some of those mistakes, I mean, that McNair pass back the other week was what he was thinking the other week against Brentford. And then obviously 2 conceded against Derby at the weekend as well. So that's, not looking pretty for a usually pretty solid Middlesbrough side. So, yeah, not good.
Tactical change up for Derby as well, moving to the first time for a 4-4-2. And it paid dividends against Borough. Definitely the better side in that one. It's just not looking pretty for Middlesbrough, is it? Not looking pretty.
Not looking good.
Yeah, on set for course for a mid-table finish this season.
Yeah, could seriously drop some places now.
At the top, though, Watford winning 6-0 against Bristol City. What a result. They've been struggling it recently to score goals, Watford. Only one in their last 3 games. They've been saving it for this game.
Yeah, 2 points from 3 games coming into this one. And yeah, six goals out of nowhere. Sarr was phenomenal in that fixture. And he hasn't really hit the heights I thought he would have done this season. I remember playing at QPR and he was pocketed by Lee Wallace. And if anyone's pocketed by Lee Wallace, you're having a bad day, let alone someone with Premier League quality. I know Bristol City have got a lot of injuries of late, but that doesn't excuse the 6-0 defeat to Watford. So, yeah, it's a very good win for Watford to restore a lot of confidence that's been lost in the last couple of games, and they'll look to push on now.
Yeah, that's five straight defeats for Bristol City in all competitions, which, for a side that, let's face it, every single season, I swear Bristol City have aspirations for the playoffs, and they always sort of start the season really, really positively and then fall off a cliff.
Yeah, they're thereabouts, aren't they?
But, yeah, every single season. And you can obviously look at their injury situation, but I think, 6-0 to defeat away anywhere in the Championship can't be looked upon positively.
Because they did start the season off poorly and then they sacked their manager. And then they started getting some results in Bristol City. But recently, again, they're falling off the cliff, as you say. And the goals they conceded, it wasn't like Watford were mind-blowing. They literally just handed them these goals. Obviously unlucky with the third goal. It looked at first like a brilliant strike from Hughes, but then you could see a massive deflection on the way. But for Bristol City, it is looking worrying. You see those teams down at the bottom starting to pick up results. They're on 39 points. You got Sheffield Wednesday on 28. If they continue this form, they could be being drawn not into the playoff battle, but down to the relegation scrap. They really need to pick up some results, don't they?
Yeah, I saw on Twitter actually there was some Bristol City fans literally saying like, we're fighting relegation here, not the playoff promotion push. Which you've got to look at that and you've got to say 5 straight defeats. Obviously, any team with that kind of record is going to be looking below them as opposed to above them. Yeah, I think we've played Bristol City twice this season. Honestly, I think they've probably been the easiest 2 games we've had. They didn't really show up in either. They've got good players on paper. I think Alfie Mawson, I always rated him as a good player at Swansea and Fulham. But yeah, no, I don't think they've got anything other than potentially mid-table if they turn it round. But if not, yeah, they could be in that mix for the relegation zone.
Yeah, you mentioned Alfie Mawson. I always rated him at Swansea. I thought could always be Premier League standard, high up centre back. But he went after leaving us, didn't seem to do as well, and at the moment making mistakes. And he did have a few mistakes in there at Swansea, but he always made up for them. But at the moment, he's not really making up for them. So he needs to turn it around at Bristol City.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I think Bristol City, they need to. If not, Dean Holden could be under some pressure of his job. I think Bristol City always have big sort of aspirations, as I said before. Their owners are obviously hoping for a Premier League push because there's not really a club down that part of the country that's in the Premier League or has been in the Premier League recently. So I think that's got to be for Bristol. That would be massive. If they can get themselves promoted. They've had good cup runs recently, in recent years, but never really put a serious amount together for the Premier League.
Yeah, I think with a couple of teams below them as well, that are kind of picking up points. If Bristol City don't turn it around soon, they really will see a bit of a free-for-all. A couple of teams with games in hands below them as well, with this frozen pitch saga that's continuing, and obviously some of the games getting postponed with COVID cases. But yeah, like I say, Millwall, Luton, Forest and QPR all below them. They're picking up points, getting wins, and they need to turn it around quick because, like I say, they're definitely going to be looking down and not up this season.
For Watford, though, now that puts them on 51 points in 4th position. Seems like they've got that playoff position secure. Could they be challenging for those automatic top 2 places?
I think it's difficult to say. I think, if you look at their recent form, obviously it's not that positive. That's obviously one good result, but it's how they back that up. Like, it's all good beating Bristol City 6-0, but if you then go and lose your next game, well, that's all forgotten. And, and then probably if the other teams pick up a win, let's face it, they might then be starting to get cut a little bit adrift for those chances of top 2. But, if they can now put a serious run together with, say, 4 or 5 straight wins or something, obviously they've got a chance because they're only, 6 points off? So, yeah.
6 points off Brentford. Adam, 4-1 victory against Stoke. Norwich look like they're back to winning ways.
Yeah, no, it was much needed. We haven't scored more than 3 goals all season in any game. Obviously, then we go and score 4 against Stoke, who, usually are quite a defensively solid side. I think I looked at their record. I think they conceded 33 goals this season, and 7 of them have come against Norwich. So, on that sort of basis, Norwich needed that win. First time they scored more than 3 goals at Carrow Road since they beat Man City 3-2 last season. Pukki as well is he's the 4th player now to score 2 or more against the same opposition, home and away, in 40 years. So that's quite a good little stat for you. But yeah, Norwich needed that. And obviously, with the fact that Swansea's game got called off, it was a big opportunity to put that gap back, there, obviously after the defeat to Swansea last week. And obviously then, Brentford obviously playing the next day, the pressure was on for them to then try and, match that result to go back top again. And obviously we'll discuss that in a minute. But yeah, in terms of obviously Buendia being back, I think obviously I'm a little bit biased with my Norwich hat on, but I think Buendia's the best player in the Championship. Honestly, the guy he's insane. I think that's his 8th goal and 7th assist this season. £25 million Arsenal wanted him. Norwich are never going to let him go for that. He's superb. And obviously Pukki needed some goals as well, and he bags 2 in the game. Obviously, 1 was a penalty, but yeah, no. And obviously Norwich defensively weren't even this good in that game. I thought Giannoulis, I don't know if you saw the goal, but he passed it straight across the box to Powell to score. McLean also with a back pass to Fletcher, who we got away with handily clearing it off the line. So Norwich obviously been pretty solid defensively in the last sort of couple of months, but that was not a defensively solid display, but we still won 4-1. So yeah, big win.
Yeah, so you mentioned your new left back signing. What happened? Big mistake there. Is he going to be nailed down that left back position, or are you going to continue playing someone else?
So obviously we signed him on loan from PAOK in Greece. Obviously he's on loan initially. We have to sign him permanently if we get promoted for, I think it's 6.5 million. He's got good sort of history behind him in terms of he's played in the Europa League and the Champions League. But yeah, his first 2 games with Middlesbrough and Millwall. Yeah, I think they were both tough assignments for your first 2 games in the Championship in England. Going to the Den on a Tuesday night is never going to be a nice first experience. And then, obviously came in again. Obviously didn't play against you guys, Swansea days. And then, he comes back in and poor mistake passing it. You should never be passing a ball across your own box like that from the position he was in. But he did make up for it. I don't know if you saw the assist for Buendia's goal. He cut it back really nicely. And actually, other than that, I thought he had a really good game. So Norwich have struggled for a left back since Jamal Lewis left. So massive plus on the assist. Yeah, he got for Buendia.
Elsewhere, though, Stoke now haven't won in 9 games. Martin O'Neill, could he be under pressure losing that job at Stoke?
In terms of Stoke, yes, in all comps, that's 11 without a win. Their last win was Blackburn on the 19th of December. And it's weird because Stoke are another side that I think if they could honestly start burying their chances, they actually could be somewhat pushing for the playoffs. But again, they're just another one of these sides that they let in sloppy goals, they concede sloppy goals, and they don't score enough goals either. I think they've scored 33, conceded 33, which that screams mid-table, I'm afraid.
Yeah, he's definitely under threat with Stoke. O'Neill coming out and saying that Stoke completely just got what they deserved in that game. Norwich were fantastic. They weren't up to it. And another team that they're thereabouts. They're sitting in 10th. They're only 7 points off the playoffs. You get a little run together and you can make a surge, but it's just not happening for O'Neill there. Like you say, they've gone a long time without a win now. Not scoring enough goals. And they've shipped in 4 against Norwich. They've got to sort themselves out as well. Another side like Bristol City that have just kind of come to a stagnating point in their season. They've either got to kick on and change it up, and kick on, or they've got to kind of mix it up with management. If this run continues, I think he's definitely under threat there at Stoke.
Because there are a few of those teams up there, isn't it? Middlesbrough, you've got Stoke, as we mentioned, Bristol City have all slipped out, and they could be definitely in a place of potential playoffs, but they've all just not been on good form recently. So you think, who wants to finish 6th at the moment? Doesn't look like Bournemouth do either with their recent results. But there is one team that could push themselves up there, and that is Barnsley. What a win against Brentford. Probably the shock of the weekend, winning 2-0 away to Brentford on Sunday.
Yeah, that's their first defeat in. I think they went 21 unbeaten, so their first defeat in 22 games for Brentford. Every single week they seem like they go 1-0 down and somewhat win 3 or 4-1. Every single time I look, I'm like, right, Norwich got like a bit of help here. Brentford are 1-0 down, and then they win 4-1 away at Middlesbrough. They win 3-2 against Bristol City, and it's I was like, oh, it's going to be another one of them days. And then ex Norwich youth product Carlton Morris makes it 2-0, and yeah, I think that was from what I've read. Like I've seen the highlights, but from what I've read, Barnsley was superb, and Barnsley have been really good recently. I mean, Norwich played them in the FA Cup, and yeah, they absolutely outplayed us that day. They've got some really good players. I think Callum Britton and Callum Styles like bombing on in terms of the fullbacks and from the midfield, and they're just looking really good. Obviously got Corley Woodrow, who always scores goals in the Championship. So yeah, Connor Chaplin obviously popping up yesterday as well. So massive win for Barnsley, and there's always a chance for playoffs with the other teams slipping up and stuff. They've always got a slim chance.
Yeah, got a game in hand as well.
Yeah, game in hand as well.
Not
and I
many
think
points off.
in terms of the way they played against Norwich this season, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they go up there somewhat because they're playing well.
Yeah, 39 points as well. So game in hand on 39 points. They've definitely got a chance. Brentford now on 57 points. So Swansea win their 2 games in hand, will go top of the league.
Yeah. Okay, Chris.
I had to get that in there, but you never know. But those games in hand will be taking place in a while. So Norwich will be top for now.
I don't know what's more surprising, if Antonio not scoring or Brentford losing. 17 goals in 4 league games Brentford has scored. That's absolutely phenomenal. I don't like giving them credit, but fair play. Yeah, very, very surprised to see the full-time score for that one. Caught me off guard, I must say. I know Barnsley doing well. Like I've been saying, they're coming to a bit of good form. They have got good players, and they have got a chance. Of all those players are sitting in between them and the playoffs, just don't fancy it, do they? So many losses. They're all on bad runs. They string a couple of wins together with that game in hand. They could project themselves up there, and they could be thereabouts come the end of the season.
That's why you could see QPR come up there.
No.
None of these teams.
It's the hope that kills you. I don't do it anymore. I'll take mid-table.
It was mid-table. You heard it. But another shot this weekend. 2-0 up Huddersfield were. Somehow they lost 3-2 against Wickham. Incredible win for Gareth Ainsworth.
Yeah, Wickham had 1 win in 17 games coming into this. So obviously, I think probably most people still have written Wickham off this season. I don't really see them getting out of it. But yeah, obviously, in the Championship, they're here just really for the ride,
Yeah.
level before, and they're going to enjoy that kind of victory away at Huddersfield, who obviously were a Premier League side up until a few years back. So yeah, good win for them.
I must say, I saw an unbelievable stat yesterday. Wickham have had just 9 sequences of possession consisting of 10 or more passes. Norwich have 367.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Wickham are just such a Route 1 sort of lower league side. It's phenomenal. I mean, 19 points in the tables and fair play. They don't have the resources available to really invest in that side and kind of try and consolidate on kind of some Championship status. But I think they'll be back down there in League One next season. But like you say, they're here for the ride. I'm sure they've enjoyed it. They'll be gutted that it's all been behind closed doors, and then the fans have been able there to experience this Championship campaign. But phenomenal win from 2-0 down and 1-3-2. So it stays like this that make that ride all the worthwhile for Wickham.
But they could potentially not finish last. Birmingham losing 1-0 against Luton, which puts them on 28 points. Wickham have the game in hand on 19 points. Could we see them come off that bottom spot?
Yeah, well, Birmingham, that's only 9 points at home so far this season in 15 games, which that's atrocious. Especially when Birmingham is quite renowned for their, obviously usually big crowd and very sort of vocal support. They're going to be very disappointed that they are where they are. Obviously, Aitor Karanka, he's at Championship level. I've always thought he's quite a good manager. Obviously, done good job with Middlesbrough. But yeah, no, I don't actually think things are looking good for Birmingham at all. As well, I think there's definitely a team that I'm putting in my bottom 3 to get relegated this season at the moment.
Definitely. And then there were 2 games, but they were both cancelled. What happened there? I wasn't happy with this. Frozen pitch 2021 in the Championship. Should that be happening?
I mean, Rotherham still a fairly little side. They're probably really, Rotherham fans aren't like this, but they probably are, in terms of size of club, they are a League One side. I'm sure they don't really have the have the financial resources behind to have under pitch heating that I know a lot of teams do in the Championship. So I know there was a couple of sides just down the road from Rotherham that still managed to get their games underway. Disappointing. But yeah, if it was going to be any side in the Championship, it wouldn't surprise me that Rotherham, with their pitch and sort of the results, I'm sure they don't have unbelievable ground management and whatever. But yeah, very frustrating because it's always when QPR on a good run of form, it's always the international break, it's a frozen pitch, it's whatever. So always the way.
In terms of yours, though, Chris, obviously you're away at Sheffield Wednesday, who, Hillsborough is arguably one of the best stadiums in the Championship. Should they realistically be calling a game off, 27 and 28 hours before? Or were they scared of playing you, Chris?
I think they could play part of it. They obviously had their midweek game that went ahead and on Tuesday night, but then they cancelled it on Friday after Barnsley, only 20 minutes drive from Sheffield Wednesday, played against Chelsea in the FA Cup on Thursday night. So you've got to question that decision only 13 hours or so after Barnsley's game's finished. Now suddenly there's massive frozen pitches in the area. I read a few tweets about it, and apparently maybe their boilers have been broken for the last year, hence why their under heating pitch isn't working. I'm not sure if I can read into those tweets, but it is interesting in Championship how massive stadium, Hillsborough, how a game can be cancelled. Wasn't happy at all.
Yeah, no, I think for you though, like the fact that you've obviously got these two games in hand now, how do you view them in terms of, obviously I would personally rather have points on the board than games in hand. How do you think that's going to affect you going forwards this season? Because obviously you're going to now have a couple of midweeks where every other team will have a week off. You're now going to have two more games crammed in that sort of middle gap. How's that going to play out for you this season?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's much better to have the points on the board rather than those two games in hand. Even if we still win them, I know we'll go top, but I'd rather have those points. I just also think in terms of playoffs, so say if we don't get the top two, that if we're playing these loads of mod games, the two mod games, we'll just be playing midweek games each week, pretty much to the end of the season, and that could take a toll in the playoffs with the demand of changes and fitness for the players. So I do think that could be a bit worrying come playoffs. So hopefully we win those two games in hand and won't need to go to playoffs. But if we do, I think that could affect us playing many more games.
Yep. So obviously now we're gonna move on. A few big games midweek this week. Probably the biggest one for you, obviously, Charlie, is your derby game there against Brentford. Obviously not got a good record against Brentford. I think is it 2 wins, 1 draw in 12 against Brentford. How do you see this one going out?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not holding out too much hope. I guess the only positive we've got going into this is that they have lost the last game. They're not unbeatable. Like I said, we're on good form as well, so there is reason for a little bit of optimism. But I don't hold out too much hope against Brentford. I don't know what it is about them, but they are our bogey side. It always seems to get the better of us. Yeah, I do look forward to these games, but I really don't at the same time. Brentford, they're just always getting one up us the last few years. We need to put an end to it because I've had enough. But yeah, I don't want to say too much.
Any reason why Brentford seems to just always get these results against you guys?
That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer. Like Brentford, the last few years, to be honest, have been a lot better than QPR. QPR the last few years have really struggled to score goals. Brentford have always just eaten us up on these big occasions. QPR never really had that sort of nasty side to us the last couple of years. Losing some of the big sort of names that, when it comes to a Brentford derby, the likes of Clint Hill, Sean Derry, they kick people, they batter people. You'd have that sort of thorn in your side. At the moment, I think our players are just too nice. We're not really, when it comes to a derby, there's no real difference in our sort of performances or how much we're sort of up for it. Yeah, to them, it's just sort of another game, but the fans don't see it that way. So yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, me and Chris will obviously both be supporting QPR on Wednesday, for obvious reasons. But yeah, in terms of obviously QPR, I think you've got like one of the highest chances created this season in terms of league, but you just can't put the ball in the back of the net. Is Charlie Austin going to change that in this game?
I think so. I'm backing him. I think QPR has been such a transition from last season. Hugo, Wells, Eze, and Bratso Samuel as well. A lethal front four that scored a lot of goals, created a lot of chances, but we shipped in a ton load of goals at the other end of the pitch. This season, we've tightened it up at the back, but we don't score half the goals we did last season. Lyndon Dykes and Macaulay Bonne haven't really cut it. We created a lot of chances, but they've just, like I said, not been putting the ball in the back of the net. Charlie Austin's come in. He's got a couple himself. He's taken Bonne and Lyndon Dykes under his arm, and we've seen their performances increase a lot. But it's the confidence he's installed on off the pitch. We've seen with just a completely different side. So yeah, we will score a lot more goals, I think, going on now, and I think we have done the last couple of games since winning 4 out of 5. But yeah, why not? I'll give us a bit of a chance going into this one. Maybe a draw if we're lucky.
Draw. What scoreline?
Oh, I'll go 1-1. Let's go 1-1. Like I said, you can tell from the tone of my voice, I'm not awfully confident there, but 1-1 draw and I'll be over the moon.
We had a Reading fan last week who said, he said the same. He couldn't see Reading beating Brentford. They did have a good start in the week, so winning 1-0, but then slipped up to lose 3-1 in the end. I think I can see Brentford just sadly against my wishes. I think Brentford are going to go on and just respond from the weekend.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Also, I do think they're going to just maybe try to be a bit more solid at the back, because you have seen throughout their run, they haven't been great defensively. And I think Thomas Farke is going to really maybe not overdo it, but just say to guys, let's not make any silly mistakes, especially in a derby. So I think it's going to be a 2-0 win to Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, my heart's telling me 1-1, but I think QPR maybe nick an early goal and Brentford will go and smash 3 or 4 past us. And I think it could be a scoreline kind of like that, to be honest.
I'm hoping, obviously, my heart is saying that QPR are going to win this game. But in all honesty, again, I think as much as I always enjoy a trip to Loftus Road, and I think it's quite a tough place to go, any level. But yeah, no, without the fans, I think Brentford are just, despite that result of the weekend, I just think, they're probably going to turn up in this game, and they know the pressure's back on them, and I think they'll probably nick I'll go 2-1 win.
Yeah, it's interesting because Loftus Road has always been sort of a fortress for QPR, but this season, sort of the tail end of last season since we came back with the postponement, QPR have been shocking at home. Bar the last win that finally put an end to a winless, very lengthy winless streak, and not scoring many goals either. I think QPR had scored 1 goal in December. So yeah, hopefully we can start to have a little bit of a run at home, and hopefully we can get back-to-back wins at home against that lot from the bus stop. But yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice. And at the same time, it's got Swansea playing Nottingham Forest and Coventry are playing Norwich. Would we see the top changing around this week, Adam?
I mean, I fully expect Norwich to go to Coventry full of confidence after that victory at the weekend. And I mean, honestly, with that with Norwich hat on, I honestly think we'll go there and win 2 or 3-0. I honestly think you might struggle more against Forest than maybe obviously that FA Cup game. Obviously, you destroyed them 5-1, but obviously Forest have recent have been obviously very solid at the back. As I said before, 3 clean sheets in 4. Obviously got Glenn Murray's bagged a few goals recently, and yeah, Chris Hughton's doing a good job there. I obviously don't rate Chris Hughton from his time at Norwich, but yeah, I think that's going to be a tough game for you. How do you see that one going, Chris?
Yeah, I think you said, as rightly said, the FA Cup game, they obviously rested more players than we did. We were at home, we wanted to win that. And I think we could be seeing a different Nottingham Forest coming to the Liberty this time out. And yeah, they could be more solid. And it could be a very tight game. But I do feel we gave up a few of our star players. So Hohan, Ayew, even Bidwell had a rest against Man City in the week. So now they're coming into the game a week and a bit of a rest. Surely we've got to win that, I think.
Quick question. I'm dying to know. What do you make of Ryan Manning and Jake Bidwell?
Yes, yeah. This is the thing. I've been calling for Manning to get a bit more game time. But then Man City game, I do think maybe the first goal should have closed down Walker a bit more on the cross. And I think in the games against the weaker sides, I think we should be playing Manning. I think going forward, he adds a bit more. But then I think Bidwell should be playing against the bigger teams. But I wonder if we could do Bidwell playing the left centre back, and then Manning playing the left wing back. We could change it up like that. How do you view them as a QPR fan?
So very inconvenient timing. The window cleaner is scrubbing the window as we speak now. Jay Bidwell, he's probably he's better defensively. He was good during his time at QPR. He kind of struggled at the start coming from Brentford. I think he was given the captaincy, and that was kind of slowly taken off him. But he kind of came really good towards the end of his time there. He kind of improved going forward as well. He puts in a cracking ball with his left foot. He is solid, but for me, Ryan Manning is a quality player. I'm sure he will come good at Swansea. Sort of the chances he created last season, I think he was top for, I think, anybody on the pitch. I think for maybe most crosses or assists from crosses or something like that. I can't quite remember now exactly, but yeah, he's a very good player going forward. He offers a lot, and I think you got a good player now. We were gutted to let him go, and I think you will see the best from Ryan Manning. He is a good.
And I think a player of his quality, he doesn't want to be sitting on the bench. You would think he's going to be calling for more game time. That's why I wonder if they do go for both of them and play Bidwell a bit more defensively. But our centre-backs are looking good as well. So it's going to be hard to get into that position. Manning did play the cup tie against Forest, so I think he could start on Wednesday night against them.
Yeah. And then in terms of Wednesday night, obviously, if we've got a big game at the bottom as well. Tuesday night, actually. Wycombe versus Derby. Obviously, I think we've all written Wycombe off, but if they could pull up a result in this game, obviously it'd be massive for them because they do have a game in hand. Or do we just see Derby? Is that going to be the game that pretty much starts to pull them away from the bottom, like pack, as I suppose you'd call them?
Wycombe at home, so they're going to really be going for that win, and they know that they need to win to have any chance of staying up. But Derby have been looking good recently. So under Rooney, they've definitely picked up the results. It's going to be a challenging game. I think Derby are going to win that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Yeah. And in terms of, obviously, then I think the other big game this week as well is there's a game on Sky, Bournemouth versus Rotherham. Obviously, Rotherham, I think they've had every single game called off this season. I'm surprised they even played a game, in all honesty.
Don't think that pitch is defrosted, is it?
Luckily, Bournemouth are at home.
Yeah, luckily, yeah. Say Rotherham can't try and get a game called off away at Bournemouth. But how do we see that one playing out?
I think it'll be an interesting game. I think both ends, Rotherham have started to pick up results. Obviously, they lost in the week, but Bournemouth are struggling. It'll be interesting to see if they can get a win at home here. But then it's going into the big game against QPR on the weekend. So QPR obviously playing Brentford on Wednesday night, but then on Saturday are playing Bournemouth. Charlie, massive game if we think about that case for playoffs. If you win against Brentford and then beat Bournemouth, you're really up there. Do you fancy the chances?
The Bournemouth game start of the season was quite an interesting one. I think it was 0-0, if I'm correct. It might be 1-1. QPR are the better side in that game. I think I fancy us more in the Bournemouth one than the Brentford one. I can see us nicking points in that Bournemouth game. I'm not sure why. I've got a good feeling about it. I think QPR on the road have been a lot better this season, so I can see us picking up points there. At home, a bit of a lesser side, so I think we probably will lose that Brentford game, but I've got a feeling we're going to beat Bournemouth on Saturday.
Heard it here first. 2 games at home this week.
It's actually at home. It's actually at home. Yeah, I'll take it back. Sorry.
It's actually at home. It's at
For some reason, I thought it was away.
But 2 games at home.
Back-to-back losses.
You'll be cheering them on your channel, won't you? And your live watch along.
Yeah.
On Talking Rangers. So where can QPR fans see your content, Charlie?
Yeah, Talking Rangers on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. But yeah, the live watch alongs on YouTube, Talking Rangers for all the games this season. It can be a bit mental, can get a bit overexcited, but that's sort of the fun of it. So yeah, make sure you tune in, any QPR fans.
QPR fans, you heard it. Give him a listen. But also, we'd love you to follow our Twitter, guys. So at Champ Crowd Pod. Follow us on Twitter, get the weekly updates. And also, as I said at the start, we're now on YouTube, thanks to WD Sports with a Z at the end. So give them a subscribe on YouTube. Have a watch on YouTube if you like. And also head over to the Spotify, as usual, to listen to the podcast. Thanks for coming on today, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, lads.
No worries. Good luck for the week. We're really hoping you guys can get a result against Brentford.
We're both gunning for QPR.
Brilliant. Thanks, all the listeners. See you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.